And imagine this, everyone, a stock market without the Dow name. Well, it may happen. According to the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, which owns the Dow Jones Industrial Average, could actually sell the index. Goldman Sachs is apparently on board to explore the sale. So is this a good time or a good move for the company? Well, joining us to talk about that is Benjamin Stretch. He's analyst at Macquarie Capital USA. And Benjamin, great to have you with us. I know you talk about all things News Corp. They're not doing this for cash, you say. Why would they be doing this?
Well, this is a transaction that really has been thought about all the way back to 2007 when News Corp first acquired Dow Jones for $5.7 billion. Earlier this year, we saw them write down the value of that acquisition by $2.8 billion. And really what we're left with is a business that where Rupert looks at News Corporation as very much a company driven by newspapers, cable networks and its film business. It's really a non-core asset. And one of the problems that we really have with News Corporation at the moment is there's a whole lot of assets in there which are just not being recognised and valued by the street. You're talking about the media assets and the newspapers and the... Absolutely. Okay. The principal problem is that the newspaper business is seen by the street as a real anchor on earnings, a real anchor on sentiment, and a real anchor on the momentum of this company. And so what we... But isn't that right? I mean, take a look at the decline in the newspaper industry. Well, there is a lot of effort going on at the moment. It's being spearheaded by John Miller, who is the man brought in by Rupert Murdoch to try and reinvigorate his digital business. John Miller has a really good track record at AOL. He's a former AOL lieutenant. And what we expect is going to happen there is that the media companies, in particular the newspaper companies, the Tribune, the New York Times, and the Post and so on, are really going to work together on a global basis to try and do something about getting paid for content online. Mr. Murdoch has been very vocal about this and trying to really accelerate his efforts on this. Right, he said that he's going to do it, though. He's going to do that, where he's going to force people to pay, just like the Journal does. I mean, well, as the Journal does and has been doing. Absolutely. The Journal is actually one of the best examples of being paid and monetising newspaper content online. It was good at that when it was a property just within Dow Jones in its own right. And we think actually within News Corporation they've done a really good job of actually accelerating those efforts. Okay, I want to get back, because we kind of veered off topic, but I want to get back to selling the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The reports are it could fetch about $700 million. Does that sound right to you? So the maths here is before Dow Jones went private in its acquisition by News Corp, in the 9 months to September 2007, the unit had about $100 million of revenue. And we think the margins associated with that revenue are about 40%. And if you look at one of the publicly traded comps, the MSCI business, that trades at around 7 times revenue. And so that's how people are extrapolating the $100 million in revenue towards a $700 million price tag. My feel is that's probably towards the upper end of what it could fetch. However, the story with this is really not about how much cash this sale could generate. It's a question of recognising value within the News Corporation franchise, which is just not being captured in the current stock price. Right, and streamlining the company so that basically investors focus on the core assets and don't get distracted by all of these other assets that News Corp holds. Absolutely. Okay, so there's some bidders reported, Morgan Stanley and also our company, of course, Bloomberg. Who do you think would likely, where does this fit the best? I think it probably fits the best with MSCI. That would be my feel. Bloomberg would know that. One of the exchanges themselves, the NYSE, Euronext, might be interested as well as a potential acquirer. But we would expect it to fit with one of those entities. Another possibility, of course, is because of the really close ties with the Wall Street Journal and the Dow Jones franchise, is that they enter into some sort of joint venture agreement. The Dow 30 components have historically always been chosen by the managing editor of the Wall Street Journal, and so we think it's probably unlikely that they'd want to sever that relationship. And obviously there's a lot of brand name associated with the industrial average. We think it's unlikely that any of that would change in any transaction. Okay. Benjamin, thanks so much for joining us. Benjamin Stretch of Macquarie Capital.